deaths from guns and 3,849 deaths from drug overdoses in Illinois. What can be done about those dealing drugs to alleviate the problem of senseless drug deaths? What can be done about drug dealers that poison our people and our children?
Look, I'm not a fan of that. You know, drug dealing or using guns to commit crime. I think that if you look at the numbers, you see that so many people are being killed in Chicago. And this is really over turf wars. It's drug wars. We have so many drugs coming over the border. It's porous. We have so many people that are able to deal drugs. Our drug dealers are not being kept in jail. You know, but it's turf wars. It's absolute turf wars. For gun issues, we need to focus on the criminals. We need to focus on the illegal gun owners. You know, people who are owning their guns legally and abiding by the law. They don't need to be harassed with laws that are trying to take away their rights that should not be taken away from them. But the criminals are causing the problem, and we need to definitely crack down on the criminals who are using guns to protect their turf for drug dealing. Same thing for drug dealers. I don't think it's a harmless crime. I disagree with the Safety Act when they say it's a harmless crime. The drug dealers are not violent criminals. They are. People die from drugs, either because it had fentanyl in it that nobody knew was there. It was cut wrong. It's a terrible. Drugs are an addictive thing. We just need to treat drug dealers the same way we deal with criminals, with murderers as well. I really think they need to be in the same vein, and it's not just an easy street. If you're dealing drugs, you're a big, huge part of the problem. And the Illinois State Legislature needs to start writing laws that are tougher on crime when it comes to guns and when it comes to drugs.
Well, you were talking about guns, the Second Amendment. Recently, Illinois passed a law for certain weapons and I think rifles and some types of ammunition, and that you had to register certain weapons. What do you feel about registering weapons? Because Australia did that, and then they went into confiscation.
Yeah, I think it's unconstitutional. I don't think the state is allowed to do that. I think it's what will happen in the courts. I would have voted against it. I don't think you should be registering your firearms. We already have a FOID card system where if you're going to own a firearm or if you're going to buy ammunition, you have to have a FOID card. It's not even they know who you are. You've got to be able to present that ID. It has to be you, and that FOID card does expire, and you have to renew it. And they do a background check every time they do it. But registering your guns, no, I don't go with that because again, the legal gun owners are going to be the ones that are following the rules, and it's a hassle for them. The criminals aren't going to be doing it. The criminals don't have FOID cards. The criminals aren't registering their guns, and it's just, you know, it's not solving the problem. You're not solving the problem by doing that. You're just causing a burden on people who are already law-abiding citizens. So I would not have voted for that. I would work to repeal it. I think the courts will take care of that for us, to be honest with you, as it is an unconstitutional law.
So you mentioned Chicago, and we were talking about, you know, maybe think about maps. Can you explain the map of the 18th district where you have Chicago and continue on? Can you explain the genesis of the district and your thoughts on gerrymandering?
Well, sure. I mean, the maps are drawn by the legislators, right? So they get to choose who their voters are. If you think you're voting for your person in the House, your representative in the Senate, you're not. They already chose you. So they know what you're getting. The 18th district was recently redrawn in 2022, thanks to the 2020 census. And they took out part of Northfield, part of Glencoe. And they added this 2-inch, sorry, it depends on the map, yeah, but 2-block wide strip of West Rogers Park. And they said, you all in West Rogers Park here, this 2-block area, you're not like the other blocks in your neighborhood. You're like Kenilworth over here. And you're going to vote with Kenilworth.
I don't think so.
Because you all have the same issues. So we have this strip of West Rogers Park up here, and then we get, you know, part of Evanston, part of Wilmette here, and then all of Kenilworth and all of Winnetka. So as how crazy that is, you know, St. Joe's Church here in Wilmette is not in my district. It's in the 17th, but St. Joe's School, right across the street, that's in my district. That's in the 17th, in the 18th district. So they even divide businesses in a sense. They divide the church and the school in that regard. But I support having an independent third party draw the maps. Several states do it. It's not new. I think there are already 11 or 12 or maybe 13 states that do have independent third parties. But I think that that is the better way to do it, because when you allow the politicians, I don't care if it's Democrat or Republican. I don't care if you're in Texas and the Republicans are doing it. It's wrong. If you're in Illinois and the Democrats are doing it, it's wrong. Having gerrymandered where the legislators get to pick their voters is wrong. The voters should be picking the legislators. And if you allow the legislators to draw the map, they're picking their voters.
So we're going to tee up another question. You talk about term limits.
Term limits. Well, that's part of the whole corruption issue in Illinois. I mean, if you want to help stop corruption in Illinois, term limits. Give them, I don't know what the number would be, but term limits are important. Right now, Illinois legislators said, we did term limits for leaders in Illinois, but that's not enough. Madigan's gone, 40 years in Madigan, and they said we can't have that again, so we're going to placate people by saying we're going to do term limits for leaders. But the problem is, if Mike Madigan were still in the House of Representatives, he'd still be pulling the strings. Even if he's not the House Majority Leader, he's still in charge. You would know it. He is still in charge. He is. He's still doing it.
Can we make term limits, can we pass term limits so that U.S. Congress has to abide by them for our representatives, whether it's House or Senate?
We can't pass term limits on federal, and again, I'm not federal, we can do it for the state.
Okay.
We can do it for our state leaders. California recently did it, works very well there. Ohio has it, works very well there. We can do it here. We can make it where, you can have so many years of office total, you can have so many years in a particular office, whether it be the House, and move to the Senate, if you want to do that, move from the Senate to the House. You can do all kinds of things, but term limits are important, where people will get a fresh vote. They'll get a fresh face. And that's something we don't have in Springfield, are fresh faces. If you want change in Illinois, this is change in Illinois. Okay, if you want something to be different, this is different. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm working for. Right now, Illinois is going the wrong direction. We're losing jobs, we're losing people, we're overtaxed, we're overregulated. We need to have something different, and I'm something different, and I'm going to help turn it around.
Can you just offer what your version of term limits would
They have
be?
that in certain states.
3
for
terms,
governors.
I would suggest, if I were to offer a suggestion to be worked on, I'd say 3 terms in the House and 2 in the Senate. That would be my suggestion. And you could go from the House to the Senate, maybe a total of 20 years, but it shouldn't be a career. That's the big thing. Service, for me, is not going to be a career. I'm not taking the pension. If I go to Springfield, I'm saying no to the pension, because that money I know needs to go to other pensions. It doesn't need to come to me. I'm saying no to the pensions. I want the term limits to make it so that people don't make this a career. This is not a career job. It never was intended to be a career job. The fact that they give themselves raises is ridiculous. The fact that it's now an automatic raise is even more ridiculous. But it's supposed to be something you want to do for a short-term period of time to help your fellow man. And that's what I want to do. That's why I just go there and do it for a few years, do a few cycles, let somebody else do it. Let somebody else with better ideas come in and do that work.